Do you like being told you can't do something? Yeah, me either. The topic today is cleaning mating surfaces or gasket surfaces, cylinder heads, blocks, things like that. We saw something on social media, imagine that kind of piqued our interest in what they were saying, because they were saying some absolutes, meaning you can't do that, you shouldn't ever do that, things like that, again, we didn't think exactly aligned to what we believe. So we thought we'd put it to the test, and it all centered around these 3M Roloc Bristle discs. Yeah, these things come in various grits. We'll go over that here in a few moments, but it's typically pretty gentle on the cleanup process, and it will remove paint, rust. It doesn't do great on mill scale. It's not meant to. It's not going to clean up a weld, something like that, but it does a great job on cleaning up surfaces from steel to aluminum to stainless steel, you name it, and it's pretty gentle. There's other various ways to do that as well, whether it be razor blades, plastic razor blades, Scotch-Brite pads, or again, many other methods you can think of. But let's go ahead and dive into our testing. I mentioned in the intro that there's more way to skin a cat, which has a meaning other than just skinning cats. But anyway, there's more than one way to do something, right? And not necessarily a wrong way, and there's a wrong way to do things with the right tools. So that's my whole point here, because what I saw on social media the other day was somebody with a large following that basically gave a blanket statement to say, never do this. And that really bothers me when there is a proper way to use the tool they're talking about without causing damage, but yet they're telling you never do this because it causes damage. So that's what spurred me to do this. Now, at the same time, as I mentioned, you could take the right tool and create a lot of damage as well, and sometimes even take the worst tool, but that's the only one you have, or it's the only opportunity to fit in a certain area and still be able to use it and accomplish it correctly. Anyway, I'm getting to proper deck surfacing or mating surfaces or cleaning surfaces, not so much removing paint, but like preparing a gasket surface. So, and here was the kicker too. I totally get it on a set of aluminum heads. Aluminum is pretty soft. Cylinder heads are expensive. Cylinder heads are very important to the life of an engine, to the sealing of the combustion chamber, all of that. I get it. So being very careful on heads, and we should do that. We should also be careful on blocks. However, when you have a cast iron block, the chances of messing that up is a lot slimmer than messing up an aluminum cylinder head. So we're going to do both. We're going to use all these tools here. Specifically, what the person was talking about were the 3M Roloc Bristle disc. Now, this is like a ceramic impregnated, some type of flexible rubber. I don't want to call it rubber because it's probably not. But anyway, a flexible ceramic surface that enables you to clean up surfaces and do it pretty gently. And they're also in different grits. The green is actually a number 50. I'm not going to call it a 50 grit because it's not 50 grit. The yellow is a number 80, and the white is a number 120. So the white is going to be the most forgiving. This is going to be the most aggressive. But it's not like you're picking this up and it's like 120 grit sandpaper. So I'm not calling it 120 grit. It's just they have actually a number sign and a number 120, again, 80 and 50 on this. So we'll probably just use the white one, but we may get into the yellow and the green as well. Then we have a set of plastic razor blades. These are great. These are absolutely phenomenal. When you're wanting to be extra careful, having a set of plastic razor blades, highly recommended. It's not that expensive for a whole box of these. They're dual-sided. They won't cut you, but they do provide a decent surface, especially when you're using it on aluminum. Doesn't work so good on cast iron or steel, but definitely worth having in your toolbox. And then the other is a razor blade, obviously. That's highly recommended to have a box of razor blades all the time, because cleaning about any type of surface, it just works really, really well. Again, you have to be careful not to gouge it in, because I could cut aluminum with that if I wanted to. I would not recommend a wire brush, but guess what? Sometimes you just got to use it, because especially if this motor is inside an engine bay and you're trying to get things cleaned up, you got the heads off of it, you're cleaning surfaces. These little things fly off all the time, not only in your eyes and in your hands, but also somewhere in the engine compartment or inside the cylinders, inside the heads, whatever. So I don't recommend a wire brush, but again, sometimes you just can't get around it. And then we have these Scotch-Brite pads. And these now, depending on which company is making them, obviously 3M came up with the Scotch-Brite. In fact, these Roloc Bristle discs are actually under that Scotch-Brite name as well, But typically when you say Scotch-Brite pads, these are what people are looking at, just the regular pads, but then also they have them in these discs with the Roloc. The Roloc is actually an indication of this little mechanism right here where you have kind of a quarter or half turn to actually insert these tools, which are very, very handy. But anyway, this Scotch-Brite Roloc disc, these typically are color-coded in, you see them brown, maroon, blue, red, you see different colors. Typically, like a brown is the most aggressive, and this is somewhere around the 280, 240 to 280 grit. The maroon is typically somewhere around 320, and they're saying the blue is at 1,000 grit. And these are great to use. I don't recommend them on aluminum. Have I used them on aluminum? Absolutely. Am I an engine builder? No, I'm not. Have I built engines? Yes, I have. But don't take me for a professional at all. But in a pinch, if you got to use one of these, it's possible to use it without damaging something. We have an LS block sitting here, iron block, so not an aluminum block. We have an aluminum LS cylinder head here. And I wanted to point something out. Now, we've got a little rust here on the rails. I've got a nice flat bar here that we can check flatness. And one of the things that was mentioned was that he could see light through certain areas. I don't believe light is a good indication. I'm sorry. Light is a great indicator, but it's more to check the evenness of and the flatness of the surface, not will light come through or not. So as you can see here, I've got my flat bar here on the rail of this engine block. Again, we've got a little surface rust. I did wipe it off with a rag, but as you can see, we can see obviously light traveling through here. So it's not whether or not you can see light, but where the light's a good indicator is if you have a low spot and you literally see kind of the bulb of the light or a lot brighter light coming through there. But just light coming through is not a good indicator or not of whether or not that you've got a good flatness, if you will. Now listen, if we get a perfect flatness and we don't see light coming through, then that's absolutely wonderful. But just be careful sometimes what you say and how you say it. Now I'm going to take my yellow bristle disc, and you'll see here on the back of the disc, by the way, these are good for 25,000 RPM. So it says max RPM 25,000. So we're absolutely safe. I believe this only goes up to 20,500. I believe in 3, it's like 15,000. So we're going to have it in mode 3 here. And you can see this is actually kind of a worn bristle disc. I'm using the yellow, which is their number 80, so kind of middle of the pack. And we're going to go ahead and clean up half of this rail. Now I'm pulling the trigger fully on 3. We know this may be a sensitive topic, so go ahead and drop in the comments actually what you're thinking right now, and maybe even your preferred cleanup method when it comes to mating surfaces, cylinder heads, blocks, oil pans, you name it. Let us know the process you like to take. Also, let us know if we're doing something wrong. Okay, I went ahead and did that whole rail with that Roloc yellow bristle disc. I did it in like a minute and a half from start to finish. In fact, a little less than that. I'm looking at my camera right now and it's at a minute and a half, and I already started and finished while that was rolling. So probably a little over a minute to do this whole rail with this bristle disc. And now let's see, did I create any damage? Did I cause any damage? And now we have huge light coming through there where our oil pan is not going to seal properly. Okay, we got our flat bar on there. Still seeing that light reflection come through, but I don't see any big gaps. I don't see anything different than what we were dealing with prior to. So did I cause any damage cleaning up that rail on that block with that bristle disc? I don't think so at all. Now let's swap over to a Scotch-Brite pad. Okay, we've got that nice and clean. I don't think it was as clean as the bristle disc did, but we still got it clean. And same way, let's do the same light check. So we've got light coming through, but we don't have any gaps. Anything where it's abnormally different, where you can see the actual whole light. Now, even further, here's a 6,000th feeler gauge, and nowhere can I fit this in. Now, do we want a 5,000ths or 6,000ths gap? No, but it's not even trying to go in anywhere along that at all. And the same way on this side. So I'm literally pushing, and that 6,000th feeler gauge is not slipping in anywhere. So you can see the mating surface here is nice and cleaned up. There's no heavy marks in there. There's no places where I can sense there to be a leak. However, let me show you something. I put on my green bristle disc, which this is the coarsest. And now this is where you can get into trouble, but this is just taking precaution and not doing anything stupid, especially if this were aluminum. If I get real aggressive, I can roll over that edge. So if you've got a mating surface where it's critical on that edge, yeah, you don't want to get on the edge of that. You want to keep it flat. And even with this green disc, I can still be safe. I wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend the white on any mating surfaces. But still, don't be stupid, and you should be fine. I wanted to point something out to you on this block. These mains here, on these main studs or main bolts here, when they go through, they go into the oil passage. As you can see, there's oil all over them. And in this LS block, this is a 6.0 LS, and it had a spun rod bearing. And I wonder why. So again, we see nice oil on those threads. But taking this one out, once it got, hand loose, if you will, you can feel it's kind of sticky. In fact, when I go to pull it out, it's like something's kind of holding it down in there, almost like glued in. Look at the sludge on those threads. So the first thing that happens is your oil comes to your mains and your rods, and lo and behold, spun a rod bearing. I wonder why. So do your oil changes, do your maintenance, and you'll at least eliminate that possibility of sludging up your engine and spinning a rod bearing. Also, sending it to the moon, probably not a good idea either. So checking level on this cylinder head is going to be kind of a pain because there's a lot of residual stuff on there, but we're going to check it anyway, just kind of show a before and after, if you will. And I wanted to make a point. Do not buy the cheap Amazon, Chinese, whatever, Roloc Bristle disc wannabe. They just do not work. They absolutely do not work. You can get them in different colors, but you can see they end up like this, where a Roloc disc, this was from storing it, but that's from a lot of use, and you can see it's not flaring out like that. It loses its memory, and it just does not work. Not only does it look terrible, it just doesn't work either. So don't waste your money here. We have a complete video on this comparing Amazon Chinese knockoffs to the actual bristle disc. We'll have it in one of these corners here if you want to check that out. Okay, let me just kind of wipe this down, leave all the junk on there. And then we'll check for any crazy unevenness. And it looks pretty flat, even though this engine actually lived a rough life. I know where it came from. As far as the heads goes, Doesn't look like we blew out any head gaskets, and pretty level there on the head. We'll check here too. Yeah, nothing crazy standing out to me. So we should get a good flatness when we actually clean it up too. So let's start out here, and I'm just going to take a regular old razor blade. By the way, always recommend brand new razor blade. Doesn't have any gouges in it or anything like that. And cleaning up a cylinder head with that, it will always work. Cleaning up a block, any mating surface. You got to be careful. I could dig in and gouge a spot here on this cylinder head, but you can see the majority of this stuff comes off pretty easy. But what's left is the tough stuff. Now I will tell you, you can kind of just go slow and pick at this, and it'll come off. But what really helps, a little bit of brake clean as you go. And that will typically help soften that up a lot, especially if there's any, petroleum residue. So always recommend when you're using a scraper or a razor blade, keep your brake clean handy. And that will help you. Now, also, as I mentioned, a plastic scraper. Obviously, you're not going to hurt anything with that. You can see with a little brake clean, you can actually clean it up pretty fast. But again, the tough stuff is still going to stay behind. So you're going to make several passes. Going to use quite a bit of brake clean to get that to clean up. We're going to swap over to the Roloc disc. By the way, it's pouring outside, so if you hear it raining, sorry about that. So we'll get on to it. Use the white Roloc disc and clean the rest of this up. So you can see the majority of that mating surface is clean, the large majority, in like 3.5 minutes, 4 minutes time with the Roloc Bristle disc. Now, the testament now is going to be, did I ruin the head? Do we have large gaps that will not be sealed? Do we have potential for leakage, things like that? And I will tell you, I would have taken a little more time in doing it rather than going fast at it, but I just went at it fast to say, can I actually ruin this head or can I damage it? Yes, I know if I took this and just kind of buried it in and ran that for 3 minutes straight, could I put a dip in there? Absolutely. But let's check it out. And again, looks the same as to when we did it before. If not, obviously a little tighter as well. Again, my filler gauge. I can push it off there, but it doesn't stick under there. Well, do we have valid results or not? Are they acceptable or are they not? We believe they are, and we believe we could have taken a little more time and cleaned this up a little nicer and more of a kind of an even pattern, even if we wanted to. So is it right to use Roloc Bristle disc or not? Will it never damage something? No, that's not what we're saying. We're saying if you take the care and take the time needed and make the correct decisions, then you can probably use various forms to be able to clean up mating surfaces and not damage anything. That's all we're saying, is that it's really hard when you make a blanket statement to never use something. Listen, I get it. You don't want to take a sledgehammer to this. That's never going to work. You don't want to take a ball-peen hammer to it. But when it comes to cleaning up surfaces, again, there's more than one way to skin a cat, and that means much more than just skinning a cat, and I hope you know that. Anyway, let us know in the comments anything you disagreed with or agreed with. Also, if you want some Roloc Bristle discs like this, we'll have links in the description. I think you can buy them on Amazon. You may be able to find them cheaper at some supply house near you. A lot of times welding supply stores have them, auto body stores, wholesalers typically have those. But anyway, check it out for yourselves. Also, keep track of us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and even TikTok. And if you don't mind, hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't done so already. And by all means, if you hated our video, well, give us a thumbs down. But let us know in the comments why. Have a great day. Keep smiling.